Indeed, the purpose of a university is to encourage the broadest possible freedom of speech, the broadest possible exchange of ideas. That's what university campuses are supposed to be about. Even when people may find that offensive, distasteful, that they disagree with it, I mean, these are places for disagreement.
Josh Patterson of the BC Civil Liberties Association talking about a situation at the University of Victoria that's ended up in the courts basically where a group called Youth Protecting Youth Club has been picked on, for lack of a better word. So they're trying to get these all clarified in terms of rights under the Canada's Charter of Rights and Freedoms. So joining us to discuss, Rebecca Richmond joins us from the National Campus Life Network. What is the National Campus Life Network, Rebecca?
So we're Canada's national pro-life student organization. So we're there helping pro-life students to bring the pro-life message to their campus. And unfortunately, in the last several years, it's also meant trying to support them through situations where they're facing their rights being shut down on campus and their voice being muffled.
Okay, and that's the case in the University of Victoria, right?
Exactly. This has been a long-standing situation at that university where the club has repeatedly found themselves on the firing line from the University of Victoria Student Society and for the for the university administration. They've also, of course, faced problems from their peers. There's been smoke bombs and stink bombs and used cat litter thrown at them and verbal assault. So this is really quite a dramatic situation that's continued there.
Okay, so they're trying to set up booths, and then you get this physical response. But are they allowed to set up the booths on the campus? Is that the issue?
This year, yes. It really has depended on the year. Some years they've actually removed their club status, saying, no, you're not allowed to book space anymore. This particular court case came up because the administration had approved them doing an event on campus and then took away that permission shortly before the event because the student union, the student society had advised them, well, we're not actually letting them do events because we don't like what they're doing. And so on that advice, the administration said, okay, no more event. So this is the club's response saying, no, we have charter rights and freedoms. We should be able to do these events on campus and not face these kinds of restrictions and then threats of discipline from the administration and from our student society.
Bit of a surprise to my way of thinking that the BC Civil Liberties Association seems to be fighting on your behalf.
That's exactly right. They are supporting the club in this, and they're not a pro-life organization.
No.
They are very, very vocal about the fact that they are pro-choice, but they are seeing rights being infringed upon on campus, and so they're willing to stand up for the students regardless of their position on abortion.
So is it the university on the other side, if you will, of the court case, or
Yes.
is it some individuals?
Yes, the court case is the BC Civil Liberties Association and Cameron Cote, who's the former president of Youth Protecting Youth, and they're against the university administration and the university student society.
Okay. Are pro-choice groups allowed the same access to the university?
As far as we can tell, they haven't had any problems. The student society is very vocally pro-choice. They have it in their policies. So we haven't seen the pro-choice students, the students for reproductive justice, facing any kind of problems.
Okay. What about other universities? Has this come up before, or is this unique to UVic?
Unfortunately, it's not unique. UVic is the only campus that I know of where used cat litter has been thrown at students, but unfortunately, we've seen a lot of different situations on campus where, whether it's the student union or the administration clamping down on pro-life clubs. University of Victoria, this is just this court case, this particular situation, but it's part of a broader trend of students being bullied, essentially, being told that if you have an unpopular opinion, then we're going to try and muffle that.
This is the whole thing. This is freedom of free speech. This is the Charlie Hebdo, but in the Canadian situation, as far as I see it.
I mean, it's definitely what they were fighting for, is the fact that the Charter of Rights and Freedoms should apply. And so what's really worrisome is that you have a judge saying, well, not in this case, it doesn't apply. And I think that speaks really poorly about Canadian universities. I think it's really a problem when you have in university policy them saying, well, we promote free speech and having, this ideal of the university, but then in their day-to-day practice on campus, they're consistently clamping down on things that are more controversial or that they might not agree with or that might be offensive to some. So, I mean, if we as Canadians really do believe in free speech, then we should take this as a very
we've heard
concerning sign.
we've heard this argument before at the university level. Gay-straight alliances and those kinds of things go back a couple of decades. You know, I thought we'd already fought this battle. I thought the universities were. What's the university's position on this?
On abortion or on
Oh,
free
no, I
speech
don't care
in
about
general?
abortion, but the free speech on their campus.
You know, every university I've looked at, they always have something in their policies about respecting free speech, and the University of Victoria is no different. They're very clear that they do believe in free speech, but they haven't been acting accordingly. It seems like the university is more afraid of people being offended than of the value of, you know, the free speech in our charter and our democracy.
So this is just a few individuals acting out, throwing cat litter and smoke bombs and so on and so forth, and yet the university claims to speak on behalf of the whole of the student body?
Well, I'm not sure exactly who they're claiming to speak on behalf. I'm assuming just the
Well,
administration itself.
if there's some people that are involved that are pro-life, and there be, I don't know, dozens or hundreds, I don't care what the numbers are overall, then if the university is taking the other approach and saying you don't have the right to do that, there must be a vast majority of people at the university that are protesting.
I wish I could say that there are. I think a lot of students have been apathetic about these kinds of things, and I hope that this is a wake-up call that, you know, we need to be more active in vocalizing our need to have clear charter rights on our campuses.
Have we seen this situation in pro-life? You know, I lived in the United States. Pro-life and pro-choice was a much hotter subject, if you will, in the U.S. than in Canada. Have you seen this kind of a situation in Canada before?
On different campuses, certainly, yes. So we've had a number of different situations where student unions have said, well, you're applying to be a club here, you're pro-life, you're not welcome. We're dealing with some of those situations currently. So
Give me, for instance, give me a name of a university that's not allowing you. UVic, we know already.
yes, UVic, they currently have a club, but they've been facing this kind of persecution.
Right.
Kwantlen, a couple years ago in British Columbia, they were threatening to sue, and then the student union backed down and allowed them club status. Trent as well had a similar situation. We're dealing with a situation at Ryerson currently.
Really?
It's not an isolated situation at all.
Okay. Is there anything that we can do as general public? I mean, it's one thing to have it before the courts, but I mean, should there be protests happening that say these people should be allowed to speak?
I think definitely that this is a good time to write to the university administrators and let them know that you're upset about this, that you feel that people, even if they disagree with the stance on abortion, even if they might be controversial, should have the freedom to speak and to do activities on campus. And especially if some of the people are donors, especially if they're alumni of these universities, I think they have extra clout, and this would be a good opportunity to use that clout.
Is it ever, Rebecca? Thank you so much for telling me this whole story. Appreciate
Absolutely.
it, Rebecca.